my son, Sutton, turned 16 years old today. So now I've got another driver on the road. So happy birthday to him. My daughter just turned 15 on the 19th. So obviously, Coach Schottenheimer here is not a very good planner. Having too many kids during the season is not really what you're supposed to do. But happy birthday to them both. I love them. And I'm not good with presents this time of year, so my wife has it covered.
All right, Bob.
Bob, you're having a bad hair day.
I've had a bad hair life. It's kind of
bad. Me too, buddy. Look, mine's really getting pretty thin.
Yeah. Right, got to a point where it was just not worth dealing with anymore ever again. So.
I like it.
Hey, with Greg Olsen going out, obviously you expect Will Dissly to kind of step up a little bit. How would you assess Will's season so far, and then just kind of how you see the whole tight end group kind of, coming together now without Greg being in there?
Yeah, Bob, I think you guys know how I feel about Diss. I think he's completely underrated as just a great football player. The guy's a great football player. You don't come in this league and do what he did a couple years ago, starting out first game against Denver and 100 whatever yards, I think. I don't know the numbers, but 4 or 5 touchdowns in his first 4 or 5 games in the NFL. He's a terrific all-around football player. He really good route runner, great body control. We trust him. Big target in the red zone for us. Good at the top of the route. We asked him to do a lot of the heavy lifting. So, again, you never like to see a guy like Greg get lost, but, again, Will gives you something pretty dynamic. I think is just a great football player. Jake Hollister, again, another guy that started last year. He's not even on the roster. He's practice squad guy. Then by the middle of the year, he's starting and helping us beat Tampa Bay and helping us beat San Francisco down there in San Francisco. And another reliable guy that the quarterback just feels great with, Russ feels great with. And, the only question is Colby. But Colby's a guy that's played a lot of football. Made some great plays out there in practice today. Love his size and the target that he gives you. So I don't think it'll be too big for Colby. So you never like to lose a player, especially a guy like Greg. But this business is all about next guy up, and I think our guys will be ready to go, including Colby.
Corbin?
Hey, Brian, I know there's not going to be an actual Pro Bowl game this year, but Nick Bellore right now, the #1 vote getter for special teams gunners. How important is it to have a guy like that, a consummate team player that can step in a number of different positions and contribute? How important is it to have a guy like that? How cool is it to see him finally getting some respect for his special teams play?
Well, Corbin, Nick's a guy that we have a lot of fun with each other in terms of teasing each other and just having a good time, good-natured fun, just, hey, why don't you play me more and things like that. He's really a terrific football player, and he can do all those things. I mean, he can play tight end for us. He can play single back for us. He's done some protection stuff for us. He's such a luxury to have because, he's going to be prepared. He's going to know what to do. And so for people to be taking notice of that, how hard he works, the way he impacts the game on special teams, the way he actually impacts the game for us when he's out there in some of those third down situations, it's very cool to see the rest of the league taking notice of that. So I'm very happy for him.
Curtis?
Yeah, Brian, is Nick over the slight from the victory formation a few weeks back, or is he still holding that against you?
Definitely still holding that against me, and if it's not that, it's certainly something else that I've done over the last week or two. He and I have a love-hate relationship in a lot of good ways, but he keeps me happy. He keeps it loose. He keeps it fun. He knows why he's here. He's here to help us win games, whatever that means. And so, but the five tight ends, I think that bothered him pretty much.
And then if Brandon Shell can't go for you, this might be the first chance to see Cedric Ogbuehi play a decent stretch of ball. What has he brought to you guys? What do you expect out of him if he gets that call, and how does he fit into what you guys would do there?
Yeah, I mean, Cedric's a guy that from day one you saw the athleticism, you saw the talent, you saw the high level of the ability to pass protect and sink his hips. He's very athletic, so he can do a lot of great things out in space. We'll see how it goes with Brandon, but if Cedric goes out there and plays we have no questions he's going to go up there and play really well. Going against a great player, Brandon Graham, great player. But same thing with the tight ends, right? Everybody gets tasked with different things, and this year's been a little different for most people. They've had to deal with assortment of injuries, but Cedric's a guy we have complete confidence in. I think it's always easier too, Curtis, when you go and you get a chance to play a half or whatever it was against Arizona. It's not like you're going out there and you've not played. So I think if he gets called to action, he'll do great.
Joe?
Hey, Brian, I don't mean this question to be nitpicky in a game you guys played well and won. Just out of curiosity, you guys moved the ball really well, especially in the first half. You guys had a 3rd and 2 where Russ got sacked. I think there were only 3 routes in the play. They were all pretty long, developing, and deep. Was it a check by Russ, and is that a play where you're like, that's maybe not our best route to go, and there's nothing underneath or outlet to have him, get rid of the ball on 3rd and short?
Yeah. Joe, it seems like forever ago that game played, but there was certainly some things that they presented, some all-out blitz looks where we had to get into some max protection looks. So my guess, not remembering the play exactly, is it was one of those situations where they kind of showed all up. We got into a max protection. They bailed out. That happens sometimes. The good thing for us is normally when that happens, Russ is able to move. So when people do it to you, there's times that he can move around and make plays. But it was probably one of those situations. But I can't remember the play specifically, but there was enough of those in the game that it was probably one of those situations.
And then overall, do you feel better about, you mentioned simplifying Russ's thought process. You guys felt like you had more of a flow and much more on time. You got some layups, so to speak, in terms of finding guys in space. And do you feel better about the way things played out in that game in that regard?
Joe, I never felt bad, or I was never concerned about Russ. Do I think he played with a much simpler mindset last game? Absolutely. But I don't stay awake at night worrying about him. He's going to be ready to go each and every week. But I thought he played very, very well. I thought that the fact that we were able to get the running game going, having Carlos back was awesome. He played really, really well, and the guys up front played really well. So that certainly helps. But the last guy I ever worry about is Russ.
Brady?
Hi, Brian. When Russell was in his turnover funk and the offense was turning the ball over in general, what role, if any, do you think not being able to run the ball as well as you guys would like played into that, or was there any connection there, do you think?
I don't think so. I think each game Brady's different. We talked last week a little bit more about, Russ usually makes such great decisions. He's usually so reliable with where he decides to throw the ball. Whether you're running the ball or not, when he's got a chance to go run the ball and he kind of tries to find Disley late in the corner against the Rams, or 4th and 1, I put him in a situation where he's got to throw the ball and nobody's open. I don't think that's got anything to do with the running game. We are certainly at our best when we're balanced and playing well, and we've got Russ cooking and Chris grilling steaks and Carlos is making desserts. We're always really good when that's going on. If you watch those celebrity cooking shows, it's always good when you got extra guys in the kitchen. So that certainly helps us. But Russ is going to make so many great plays that I don't think it had anything to do with the running game. Some of those decisions, I think he'd like to have a couple of those decisions back. I know I'd certainly like to have a couple of those calls back.
And do you feel like you have to run the ball more over the stretch, final stretch of the season than you felt like you had to earlier in the season? Pete made a comment suggesting that.
I don't think we have to. I think we'd love to. We'd love to have the balance. We'd love to be in a situation like we were against Arizona where you're firing all cylinders and the play passes and the run game's working great. But I don't think we have to necessarily run the ball 40 times or throw it 50 times. I don't think that really matters. I think we have to have a plan to win the game. A lot of times you go into a plan, Brady, with, okay, I think we're going to be able to do this, and then they come out with something different and you have to adjust. I think that's where we've been really good this year, is we've been able to adjust and change things up when teams have maybe taken something away from us.
Thanks.
Jackie?
Hey, Shotty, you kind of touched on it, but it was clear that Carlos had brought a different energy to the run game. When Chris Carson is able to come back as well, what will that bring, that extra player just bring to that run attack?
Well, first, it'd be great to get him out there. I know he's excited. He looks terrific. We know what we're going to get from Chris. Carlos, going back to Arizona, he played really, really well. He had the first 3rd down conversion of the game for us on a nice check down. I thought he ran really, really hard. cool finish down around the 2-yard line where DK's engaged with Patrick Peterson. He kind of lowers his shoulder. It was cool. The next play, we were able to get Carlos in the end zone. So, again, you have to have depth at running back. It's critical in this league. You have to have it. And we've been a little bit thin for a while, but now we're getting back to pretty close to full strength. And, you'll see those guys out there playing and playing well. And they do have a different juice about them when they play. And, our guys respond to that.
Tim?
It feels like it was forever ago, Brian, but what did you think of Damian Lewis's performance at center? And I guess long term, what projects best for him? Is it staying at guard, or could he long term be a center?
Well, I think number one, what we asked him to do on a short week in the National Football League, playing against a defense that does as much as Arizona did, I thought he did tremendous. He really did. There was some errors. There was some pre-snap things where guys were jumping off sides because of issues that he had with the snap. But all in all, with what he was tasked to do, Tim, I can't think of many guys that could pull that off. So I'm very proud of him, number one. I'm proud of the group. But I think it's amazing for us to have him knowing that he can do that. But right now we're very comfortable with him at guard. He's played that position at a very high level. But it is good for us that we have a guy that's gone out and played, and he's always going to train at that spot moving forward. But I think it's a little easier for him playing right now as a young player at guard.
Last question, Michael Sean.
Hey Brian, is fatherhood and being a husband something you talk about with the guys? Is that something you guys bond over?
Yeah, I do. It's truly one of the things that I'm most blessed to have an amazing family life. My wife and I, again, married 19 years. Being a dad is one of the coolest things that there is. And that's kind of what you are. You know, you're kind of a stand-in in some regards, and you love to see these guys. That's some of my greatest memories is when I bump into players on other teams that maybe I've coached and you haven't seen them for a while. And you reminisce about a memory or something special that you guys do and you have a quick laugh. That's one of the best parts about Sunday afternoons and Monday nights when you see guys that you kind of watch come into the league, former players, and or you get a random text. Mike, you get a random text on Thanksgiving, or you get a random text from a player on Christmas. I'll never forget David Tyree was a young man that I coached at University of Syracuse. I was receiver coach back in, I'm going to date myself here, 1997 or 8. And David had the catch, right? He had the catch in the Super Bowl for the Giants ahead of the Patriots. And David and I hadn't probably talked, I'd say, 6, 8, 9 years. But on Christmas Day, let's say 2005 or 6, a couple of years, a year or so after the Super Bowl win, somebody asked him to write a book. And he just wanted to reach out to me and send me a text and tell me how I impacted his life and how I believed in him. And to this day, it's one of the coolest things that I've received from a text from a former player. And that stuff goes a long way for coaches.
Completely unrelated. I don't know if you saw the play where Patrick Mahomes put himself in motion before throwing the touchdown. I think it was a couple weeks ago. What did you think of that? And could you ever imagine putting Russ in motion before the snap?
Absolutely. I did see the play. One of the coaches brought it up to me. I thought it was very, very cool. Could Russ do that? Absolutely. Maybe we've been working on it. You don't know. I don't want to give anything away, but we might have it ready to go Monday night. You never know.